Hi there, this is Matt Fleming, and today I'll be doing an interview as part of my assignment for Module 2 of Refocus and Recharge, Strategies for Finding Balance in Teaching. It's a course for the learner's edge, and today I'll be interviewing my wife, who's also a teacher. Her name is Nora Simona Fleming. So we're going to come to you today from where we live here in Budapest, Hungary, and we are at Baba's tomb here in Budapest. It's located in an area called the Rózsa Dome, which is the Rose Hill area of Budapest. So we hope you enjoy.
Hello.
Hi, and welcome to this interview, which is part of my assignment for the Module 2 of Refocus and Recharge, Strategies for Finding Balance and Teaching. So today, once again, I'm talking with a colleague of mine who happens to also be my wife. This is Nora Fleming. Nora, could you tell us a little about yourself and your teaching background before we get started?
Okay. I am the middle school learning resource teacher at the American International School of Budapest. I have been teaching since 2001, but before that I was a social worker in Akron, Ohio. What else? I coach basketball, soccer, and track. And Matt and I have 2 kids, Jack and Molly.
Right. So part of this assignment was to read an article that dealt with teacher burnout or experiencing a sense of demoralization. So I was top of this article, and these things can lead to teachers leaving the profession of teaching. So in terms of teacher burnout and demoralization, can you tell me your viewpoint for what you think could be root causes of teacher burnout?
Okay, well, I think there's 2 things that are happening when you think of burnout, and you can think of also the demoralization. First, demoralization usually has to do with the feeling of somebody else. You have the perspective or the feeling of somebody else coming down on you and making you feel less than who you are, whether that be systems or actual people that you work with. And when you feel demoralized, that you burn out faster because you're not feeling whole or valued. So I think, me personally, is that another question later? Or just my view on it? I think there's 2 things happening.
Yeah, well, one was about burnout. Like, what do you think are root causes of burnout? Just burnout, not demoralization.
Okay, burnout is too much putting too much in and not having enough of a whole well-balanced life. And living in scarcity, where you're always either things aren't enough, or not being able to let things be, or not resting and feeling revitalized.
Which kind of leads to my next question. In looking up different definitions of burnout, one interesting one I came across says that burnout is the reduction of a fuel or substance to nothing through use of combustion, similar to a rocket. At what point do you think teachers come to realize to themselves that they've reached the stage of burnout?
When their passion is gone and they're just going through the motions, and they're taking more than they're giving. Like, just going to work is too much hassle. Period.
Have you seen this before in other educators?
I have seen this a couple of times through the years, and often it's chronic. Burnout is a chronic issue that teachers have, and it starts slow. And I think the negativity and the exhaustiveness, and when you're not talking about student learning and being there for the students first, but it's all about you and how tired you are, I think that's a good sign that it's time to take a break in some form.
Right. So eventually it's going to take away from the kids. If you're burned out, you're not going to be able to put the energy forward.
Absolutely.
Okay. Have you experienced burnout at any stage in your career, or perhaps demoralization?
Well, I think there's two, like burnout. I think teachers naturally get. I think teachers get tired. I think every 6 weeks teachers do feel a little bit of burnout. I think there's a need for a break, which is why in the school year it's good to have 3-day weekends or our holidays. Luckily in Budapest, every 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, we have a week-long vacation, which I think helps our teachers stay passionate and student-centered. But I also think like demoralization depends on who your colleagues are and your administration, is if you're feeling valued. I think that's demoralization within an institution is whether you are valued and treated as a asset.
And if this happens, what's the fallout of it?
Which one? Demoralization?
Demoralization.
Oh, burnout faster. And not because you're not being holistic and giving it in, it's because you're being defeated every turn you go. Okay.
All right. Okay. So thanks for that. It's a heavy topic, talking about demoralization and burnout. We're lucky in that we don't have to experience that a lot, but we do have a lot of pressure that comes along with working at an international school, both from the parental community and the administration and the demands that we have for the students we work with. So with that, it takes a lot of self-care for folks, I think, to make sure they're being balanced and living a healthy lifestyle. So,
can I add one more thing
sorry,
about
go ahead.
demoralization?
Please do.
Right now in Budapest, we're in a really good spot. We have an excellent admin team. I'm in the middle school and I've got 12 teachers that I work with, but it hasn't always been that way. And we have had admin who micromanaged us and really didn't allow us to do what we do best, is teach. They kept pushing us into, just basically telling us how to do our job and then yelling at us if we didn't do it the way they wanted us to do it. And when that particular admin left, the whole division just flourished as far as creativity and student-centered learning. And it was amazing how everybody was oppressed when this particular admin was there, and then all of a sudden the person left and the whole environment turned around. But looking back, the majority of the people felt demoralized during the time that person was here.
So before that, we talked a little bit about self-care and the importance of it for somebody who's in education and dealing with high pressure of teaching. Give us your take on self-care and wellness and the role it should take in the world of a teacher.
Okay. Self-care, I think you need to have a balance. And I've learned after many, many years that I've got to, the minute I leave school, because I have to go back to a family and a husband, I've got to leave everything at the door. And I have to say, each day I leave the school, I do my best, and then I leave everything there. And then when I come home, I'm with my family, I'm with my husband, and we have meals together. We get a lot of sleep, but my husband and I also are very active, and running is a big part of who I am. So running and yoga multiple times every day helps me think and meditate, and that's a very important thing. Eating well, we eat really well, sleep, the running. I go to church every week. It makes me want to be a better person, and I need that time. And then on the weekends, we try and get out as a family, or we try and get out together.
When you're taking part in self-care, if you're on your runs or if you're doing yoga or any other activity where you're trying to take your body and mind away from work, at the same time, do you feel it's helpful for you in processing things you need to think about for teaching?
Oh, absolutely. That's where I do my thinking. I guess I don't leave my job at home. I leave the paperwork and that aspect, but each morning when I go running, there's a process of where I'm looking at specific cases or how I can help a teacher better. But I think it's a healthier than pushing to get it done during the school day.
So when you're running, do you think about coaching track?
Sometimes during track season, I
Good.
do.
Good. And this is
Right now,
this is the athletic director coming at you live from Budapest.
Right now, I'm thinking about soccer when I'm running.
Okay, great. A couple more questions here. We're moving along nicely. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Please explain a theory you once held and told me about concerning bottle capping in education. And since you first coined that term to me, has it changed your view on that theory?
My bottle capping theory, I never wanted to be a teacher. My dad was a teacher, and I just didn't, I felt the process of being a classroom teacher was kind of like Laverne and Shirley's, the starting of Laverne and Shirley, where they worked at a beer company and they just, all the bottles were the same, and every once in a while there was a one that didn't fit in and it was popped off. But do I still think it's that way? I think pushing kids through the same curriculum is very much like bottle capping, but I think with differentiation now, we're not throwing too many bottles out. Each kid is different. I polish them up and put them back on so the conveyor belt. But no, I think it has changed.
Okay.
So.
The next part of the interview, we're going to talk a little bit about the topic of self-efficacy and how that should take place in the world of education for teachers. So I'm going to ask you a little two-part question. So first, if you could give us your definition of teacher self-efficacy, and then what steps would a teacher take to enable them to utilize self-efficacy? So what's your definition, and how can teachers best utilize it?
Which means they are working towards. You're going to have to remind me, honey.
Self-efficacy?
Yeah.
It's like relying on yourself to be a better educator.
Oh, okay. So agency.
How do you dive into yourself to make yourself more passionate?
Okay, so efficacy, which would be somewhat of a philosophical term of agency of within my profession. I don't know. My job as a special ed teacher is really unique in Budapest because I'm not bound by IDEA. We're a private school. Although we have our guidelines and processes, I still can do seriously what is in the best interest of the student, and I think that's empowering for me as a teacher to try anything I can think of to help students work with parents in a way that you can't. I have a lot of leeway and how I work with parents and what parents are responsible for by going to our school, which is really exciting to me, where I don't get bored. Where we're at, it's we're always trying new things. We're doing action research. It's a good place to be.
Okay. So a little bit ago you talked about working with school administration and kind of a fallout that happened with what you felt with in terms of burnout or demoralization. So when talking about school leadership, what can a school or the leadership team do to help teachers be more creative in the classroom to enhance student learning?
Just support them, provide the resources, questioning, always getting the teacher to step it up. I mean, questioning what they could do next, and our school has really high expectations where I know that it's okay to take risks because we're always trying to do better. But we have, again, the admin, they're student-centered. There's very little ego involved, and it's just really supportive. The resources are there. The admin backup is there. If there's any problems with parents, I have that support. I know they have my back, and my colleagues we have open door, we're co-teaching, we're collaborating, all of those things are everyday practice at our school. So we're in a good spot, really are.
Good, good to hear. All right, our last question, and we'll wrap it up. And this pertains more to the other side of you as an educator, your coaching side. So in the after-school phase, when you're working with kids with coaching track, basketball, or soccer, as a coach, do you think the concepts of burnout we've discussed apply in the coaching realm, and are there differences between how this takes place in the field versus in the classroom?
I think in coaching it's different. The classroom, I have kids for 3 years at a time, and it's different. When you're coaching, you're looking at the skill side, you're looking at the environmental side, what you can control, what you can't control, and you're looking at the emotion side. I think the coaching, both are rewarding, but I really think it has to do with that group of kids that are coming through. I've had some very wonderful experiences with a group of kids that just clicked, and you go through with them for a couple of years, and then you're starting over with another group of kids, and sometimes that can lead to burnout because it fluctuates. I think as long as you stay up on your craft and you're passionate about it and you have that support. I was like high school track, I was a little tired of it because of some coaching issues with the groups of kids that were coming through, and I worked through it for a couple of years, and I decided to drop down to middle school, and it kind of lit my fire again for passion for track, and maybe in a few years I'll go back up to high school, but there was some burnout there because I wasn't feeling valued and the kids weren't progressing, and yeah.
Okay, so it exists both in the
ways.
classroom
Yeah,
and
yeah, it does.
Okay.
In different forms. Well, burnout's burnout.
That's true. It's tough to deal with, but we do our best. So I want to thank you for coming out today and taking part in this video.
You're
Much
welcome.
appreciated. We
Anytime.
hope you enjoyed it, and greetings again from here from sunny Budapest. Thank you.